So the last 2 months around here have been a whirlwind. We built a 54 by 72 pole building, we drained our old pond, built a new pond, and lined the old pond with about 70 loads of clay. So we've been busy around here, which has not left a whole lot of time to do the things that we love to do. So after we got done building this 54 by 72 pole building, we started moving our equipment in, and many of you astutely noticed that we moved our EZ Boardwalk sawmill back under the porch area of the new building, and we had a second sawmill sitting down there in the wood yard that's been there for probably 3 months now and we haven't touched yet. So this is the EZ Boardwalk Jr. And as most of you know, the sawmill we've been running for the last probably 3 years now has been the EZ Boardwalk 40, which is the big brother to this mill. The owner of EZ Boardwalk, Stanton, reached out to me and asked if we'd be interested in demoing this unit for a short time. Obviously, if I have my choice to run the 40 or the Junior, I'm going to pick the 40. But I was interested in demoing this for a month or two to try it out because I thought many of our viewers might be interested in a smaller, more affordable sawmill. So just for reference, the EZ Boardwalk 40 is about a $13,000 sawmill. This EZ Boardwalk Junior comes in, Stanton was telling me this morning, right around $7,700, so less than $8,000. So anyway, that's the reason this sawmill is here. Let's go get it set up and see what this thing can do. All right, so we've got the whole track system set up and level, which is very easy because just like the EZ Boardwalk 40, the Junior has a single solid piece track. So you don't have to worry about lining up individual sections and getting everything plumb. One solid piece, just make sure that the mill is the way that you want it. Obviously, the biggest difference here is just that everything is smaller, right? And it is a little less robust too. Like two things that I've noticed, this is on there. There we go. This actually has little rubber grommets. The 40 did not have that. This Honda is a smaller motor. It's a, let's see, what is it? It's a GX 390. On the 40, it's a GX 690. This is a pull start. The 40 is electric start. Your bandsaw blades are going to be smaller as well. So these are smaller. And just like that, the blade is on. And then it's always good to work it around a rotation or two and make sure it's on there how you want it. And the blade tensioner is exactly the same as the 40, just a little T-handle back here. Now, because this is a brand new mill, we're going to go ahead and get some grease in all of the bearings. Very easy to service this sawmill. There's a grease zerk on all the roller bearings and the pillow block bearings for the flywheels. Now the only thing left to do, put the blade covers back on, and then put some fuel and blade lube in here, and then get a log on. Get her rolling. Now, just because the Junior does not come standard with an electric start option, you can see that you can get it. I just checked the website. It's actually only a $300 add-on, which I think is very handy and well worth it because, you know, a lot of times with these manual sawmills, you spend, you know, a good 5-10 minutes turning the log, reclamping, and it's nice to just be able to turn it off and turn it back on while you're doing that instead of letting it sit there idle and waste fuel. Now, can you do that with a manual recoil starter? Yeah, you can shut it off and pull start it every time, but it is it's definitely a lot easier to have the electric start if you're going to be turning it off and turning it back on all the time. All right, so this EZ Boardwalk Junior is supposed to be rated for up to a 30-inch log, and we have a 28-inch white oak here, and I'm not going to put this on the mill and actually mill it, because as you can see, this is pretty large for this size mill. That just gives you a size reference of what you would be looking at. Now, I talked to Stanton, the owner, and he said you can do a 30-inch log on here, but you won't be able to use the log clamps. Basically, the opening of the throat is large enough to do it, but the actual bed platform is only, I think, about 25 inches wide. So let me get out and show you this real quick. So the distance of this platform here, which is what the log would sit on, is 25 inches. And then if you want to use the clamps, the largest opening there is about 19 1/4. So I asked Stanton, well, how is this rated for 30 inches then? He said, well, you know, this Junior doesn't live in the 30-inch saw log arena, right? It can do it, but if you are getting this thinking that you're going to be milling 30-inch logs day in and day out, you're not going to be happy with this mill. He said in order to mill one every once in a while, like what we have here, what you would do would be to set the log on the bunks and then create wedges and wedge the log in. So when you are going that large, you can't use the clamps. You're going to have to create your own wedges and wedge the log in so that it doesn't move. So that being said, I think I want to save this 28-inch white oak for the EZ Boardwalk 40. And in the meantime, I'm going to go grab a 20 to 22-inch log, which I think is more in this sawmill's wheelhouse.
Now, for comparison's sake, I thought I would show you what that same 28-inch white oak log looks like. As you can see, it looks much more comfortable and stable on the 40 than it did on the Junior.
All right, so the log we are going to put on the mill today should be right at what I would consider the top end of the range for this sawmill. This is a 19-inch in diameter, actually a 19 1/4 beech log, and it's about 10 1/2 feet long, which this has, I think, a capacity of 12 foot. And I think that if you're going to be using this sawmill a lot, I think this is probably the max end of what would be comfortable to mill on a regular basis. Again, you know, the reason that EZ Boardwalk says that this sawmill can do a 30-inch log is because it can do a 30-inch log, but I don't think it can do a 30-inch log comfortably. So let's see how it does with this 19 1/4 inch beech log. Here's a quick look at what this 19 1/4 inch beech log looks like clamped down on the EZ Boardwalk Junior. You can see you could probably still go just a hair bigger, but the biggest limiting factor is the width of these clamps. You really can't go too much more, because then your clamp starts to get into where your post for your power head is going to be running down. And then at that point, you're into the same territory we were talking about with that 28-inch log and not being able to use the clamps. And I really would rather be using the clamps than creating wedges and trying to hold the log on there that way. So 19 1/4, 20 inches, that's probably about as big as I would recommend for everyday use with this. Could you do a 25, 30-inch log here and there on occasion? Yeah, but it's probably gonna be a little bit of a pain. All right, we got our log clamped down, nothing left to do but fire this Honda GX390 up for the first time. Wow, that is a huge difference in how quiet it is. I mean, that makes 100% sense. It just, first impressions, wasn't expecting it to be that quiet. All right, so let's see how we're doing on how straight and true we are cutting. Actually looks pretty good down here on this end. Pretty good down here too, except there was a knot right here. I can see a little bit of daylight where it dove down and then came back up, but that's to be expected on any sawmill, especially if you're dealing with hardwood like beech. You hit some knots, that blade will tend to try to find the path of least resistance around that knot. That's why they call it rough sawn lumber. You clean all those little imperfections up in the woodworking shop with the planer. All right, guys, there you go. That is the EZ Boardwalk Jr. We got our 19.25-inch beech log milled on this sawmill. Again, I think that is kind of the sweet spot for this mill. This is the first time I've ever milled beech, and I think it actually came out pretty good. I might have to get into some more of that. I've got a bunch of beech sitting over there that I've been debating on whether it should be firewood or lumber, and I might mill it up for lumber. It is a very hard sawing wood, though. Like I said, any of those knots, the blade just wants to ride up or underneath it. So you get a couple of waves in there. But I kind of wanted to talk about the difference between this and the EZ Boardwalk 40, because, you know, $5,000 is a lot of money, right? And I wanted to talk about what are some of the sacrifices. What are you giving up to save that $5,000 if you decide to go with this mill? I think the perfect customer for this mill is somebody who wants to dip their toe into sawmilling and not invest a lot of money. Not that $8,000 isn't a lot of money, but when you're talking about sawmills, that is an entry-level price, an entry-level mill. Some of the things that I noticed right off the bat is this is basically a carbon copy of the EZ Boardwalk 40, just in a smaller footprint. And then on top of it being smaller, you do give up a couple of the creature comforts that I really, really like on the EZ Boardwalk 40. First thing I notice is this comes standard with a 12-foot track. I think on the EZ Boardwalk 40 you get a 16-foot track. We talked about the dimensions of the width of the track. This was 25 inches, and on the EZ Boardwalk 40 it is 35 inches. On the EZ Boardwalk 40 you have 4 sets of these clamps, whereas on the Junior you only have 2. Now that's, again, that's all size related, right? That's everything we've already talked about. But back here I wanted to talk about some of the creature comforts that I found were missing on the Junior that I really like on the EZ Boardwalk 40. So the first one is the Junior does not come with a brake. The 40, whenever you go to stop, there's a little handbrake you can put down here to lock this in. And I asked Stanton, you know, what are you supposed to do to keep this thing from moving on you? And he said basically what he has always told his customers is basically slant this at a very slight angle uphill so that your power head will always come back to home position and just rest up against this backstop. The next thing I noticed that you're missing with the Junior over the 40 is that the throttle is not integrated into your blade engagement. So on the 40, when you shove this handle down, this is your blade engagement. 3 things happen on the 40. Your blade starts spinning because it engages your drive belt with the motor. Your blade lube, if you look at this, when I push this down, it automatically turns on and turns off your blade lube, which is nice so you don't ever forget that. Both of those things happen on the Junior and the 40, but the third thing that happens on the 40 that doesn't happen on this is that your RPMs are directly linked to this as well. So when it's in this position, you know, you're not running the blade, it's at idle, and when you push it down, it automatically links up with that lever to increase your RPMs. On the Junior, you have to do that manually. The last difference that I noticed running this for the first time is probably the biggest difference, and that is the engine. So I mentioned on this one it's a Honda GX 390, which is a 12 horsepower motor. And on the EZ Boardwalk 40, I have a Honda GX 690, which is a 22 horsepower motor. And that 10 horsepower really makes a big difference because this 19-inch beech log is something that I would regularly throw on the EZ Boardwalk 40. And I mean, that's just, you know, child's play for that sawmill. But on this one, it was, you know, definitely bogging down a little bit. It made it through it, obviously, and it did a fine job of milling it. But having run the 690 now and the 390 back to back, I can definitely tell a difference. The 690 cuts through that stuff like butter, and this was bogging down a little bit. I wouldn't be a bit surprised if that GX 690 would be twice as fast as this, which would make sense. It's almost twice as much horsepower. Anyways, guys, that's going to about wrap this one up. I really don't have any skin in the game on this at all. Whether you buy an EZ Boardwalk Junior, an EZ Boardwalk 40, or a different brand of sawmill, I just wanted to put this video together because EZ Boardwalk was willing to send the mill out here to put this video together for you guys and help you guys make an informed buying decision if you were considering either one of these 2 sawmills. So if you ask my opinion, which sawmill do I prefer, I'm taking the EZ Boardwalk 40 all day long. Again, the whole reason for making this video was because I know not everybody's shopping in that $13,000 price range. There's people out there that are more in the entry-level sawmill budget. And so here's an option for you if it's something you were looking at. Anyway, I hope this video was helpful. If you enjoyed it, give me a big thumbs up, click that subscribe button, and we'll catch you on the next one. Thanks for watching.